You're listening to the Love Your Neighbor podcast.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us this week on the Links podcast. My name is John, and I get the privilege of hosting this conversation with local Brandon folks. And this season is sponsored by Brandon Wellness. We're committed to investing and building community in Brandon. And so really excited as we start this new year. We're looking ahead to what's going to happen in this season in our community. And so we wanted to bring on a guest that it's been on the list for a while, but he's a hard man to get hold of. Actually, that's not true. He's very, what's the word? Very hospitable, very generous.
Well, thank you.
Very kind with his time.
Thank you.
Bryan Read. Bryan Read, welcome. Glad you're here. And we're glad to have this conversation. So, Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you grew up. Kind of give us some background on that.
Sure. Grew up in a small community, Lake Park, Iowa, on the west side of the Iowa Great Lakes region. So I got to enjoy the Iowa Great Lakes as a youth. Went to school at Mankato, got my bachelor's in urban and regional studies. I've got 5 kids. 2 of them are older up in the Twin Cities. Got 2 grandkids that are fun.
Yeah.
Got one daughter that's in Harrisburg. She's a nurse at Avera. One kid that's a senior this year will be graduating, and then one that's taking a gap year.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. You've been in Brandon for a time, so we got you from Lake Park, Iowa.
Well, it got me from Milford. I was a city administrator in Milford, Iowa, which is also in the Iowa Great Lakes.
Gotcha. Okay, so you went Mankato. After Mankato, then you got right into administration. City is that kind of been your career?
Correct.
Tell us a little about your career.
Started in a small town, Kenyon, Minnesota, about 15 miles east of Faribault, if you're familiar with that. Was there for 4 years, and I moved to Montgomery, Minnesota, which is 15 miles west of Faribault.
Okay.
Always been a city administrator. And then I went from Montgomery to Milford, and then Milford to here.
Okay. So you kind of, in terms of city size, you went from, how did that go? Was each community just a little bit bigger? Were they all about the same size? Or
a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Kenyon was about 1,500. Montgomery was, when I came, about 2,000, ended up leaving, it was about 2,500. Milford was in that 2,500 range, and now Brandon came and we were at 9,000 or so, and now we're at about 11,500.
Okay. So you've seen different communities throughout your career. What was it that brought you to Brandon, Bryan? Obviously, besides Pizza Ranch, I'm sure that was the determining factor.
It was a prime factor.
Okay, yes. But beyond Pizza Ranch, what was it that brought you to Brandon?
Well, Brandon actually reached out to me. They became familiar. I'd interviewed in a city, West River. I didn't get that job, but the administrator at the time, Dennis Olson, knew the mayor in that community and called him up and said, "Hey, did you have anybody that you were interested in that didn't get hired?" And my name popped up. So I was invited out to interview, and here I am. And one of the nice things with Brandon, it's close to Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
We enjoy that. It's our most successful suburb. So you get the big city approach, but it's still small town, and it's a fast growing community. So there's a lot going on.
Sure. Yeah. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to be. I'm sure there are people that would ask this question. I'm going to say it. Try to say it just as plainly as I can. Bryan, how do you describe your job? What is it that you do, Bryan?
So I have a tough time describing that from time to time.
Okay.
A little bit of everything, there's personnel, there's finance, there's infrastructure, there's engineering, there's public works. I oversee the day-to-day operation of the city in all of its aspects.
Yeah. So you are really integral in a lot of different parts of the city. We've talked about this a little bit. You haven't mentioned it, but I'm going to bring it up. You and I share something in common. my friend Tim Jorgensen was telling me, he said, "Oh yeah, Bryan was an offensive lineman just like you." And here, come to find out, yeah, that's true. We played the same position in college. Tell me a little bit about your football career. What was that like for you?
Well, small town Iowa. I had 28 kids in my graduating class. So it was a pretty big jump from there to Mankato State.
The biggest party school in the country at that time, right? Or was that before they were the biggest?
No, that we were ranked in, I believe, Playboy's top 10 party schools at the time I was there.
That's a long-standing tradition. That's good.
Yep, we fight for that one every year.
Okay. So, Mankato, tell us a little about your football career. How did that? Small town. Sorry, I keep getting on top of you here, but
no, it was a different time or different way of doing things. I remember talking to my high school coach. He came up and talked to me, and I said, "Hey, I came in as a defensive lineman."
Okay.
I said, "We got more defensive plays than we had offensive plays in high school." So, that was kind of a rude awakening. Transferred to the offensive line, became a guard center. I was too short but I was the fifth player off the bench, so to speak. I was the backup for about everything. So got good experience, was primarily a guard. And then one day the head coach came up to me and said, "Hey, Bryan, I want you to try center."
Yeah.
Never played center, never snapped the ball. So I took that on, thoroughly enjoyed it. Got me some good experience. We ran the wing T. So, I'm all about 3 yards in a cloud of dust. After that, coached a little bit, coached about 12, 13 years in high school at the communities I was in. Thoroughly enjoyed that. So
nice.
That's kind of my football career.
Yeah. I didn't realize he got into coaching too. That's great. I always joke about it because I said, I was an offensive lineman as well, but I didn't get transferred from the defensive line. So the way I tell that story would be, you were probably just too good looking to play defensive line.
No, I like to think that we made the transition from the wing T, so they needed some people that could run.
Okay, that might be true. I would say you always have the three qualifications for any offensive lineman. They have to be very strong, they have to be very smart, and they have to be extremely good looking.
Smartest group on the field.
Yeah, that's what that's why I always tell kids whenever I do camps. I'm like, you guys, because nobody wants to be an offensive lineman. Let's be honest.
It's not the epitome career goal for a lot of people.
Few young men and women lay awake at night dreaming about playing guard for anyone.
You're kind of bored into that role.
Right. You get picked at an early age.
Yes, you do.
Get a circle on your helmet. Ring.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about your job. How would you relate that playing on the line to being a city administrator? I have some thoughts, but you tell me, how do you correlate the two, or what have you learned from being a football player, a lineman, to serving in the role that you're in now?
I was actually asked this question on a job interview long time ago when I was doing an internship in Big Lake, Minnesota, and their administrator left. I was appointed the interim administrator, and then I applied for the job just to go through the interview process. And that was one of the questions that they asked me. My answer was pretty simple. Staff in the city is the offensive line. The skill positions are the city council and the mayor. Very similar. We do a lot of the work behind the scenes. We're there to support the skill players, so to speak, and just get the job done.
Wow. That's a great perspective. I appreciate that. That needs to happen, doesn't it? In a city, there's a lot of things, like you watch a football game. There's a lot of things that people watch, but very few people watch those behind the scenes people that get stuff done, make holes happen. We're in the season now of kind of finishing up, leading up towards the Super Bowl, and every year you find those winning teams have great offensive and defensive lines.
Well, you look at Cincinnati yesterday, missing 3 starters off their offensive line, and it certainly showed. At least in that first half, Joe Burrows was running for his life.
Yeah.
So essential, folks, linemen, both sides of the ball. You got to have them. If you don't control the line of scrimmage, you're not going to have a good game.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I know one of your key staff areas, and I wanted to talk with you about this because I've been so impressed with your staff and the staff of Jamie Steffel and the police department in Brandon. Mm-hmm. Would you talk a little bit about what Jamie has meant to the city staff, but also to the community as leading that police department and the role that they play? Would you talk a little bit about that and the job they're doing?
Sure. Our police department is outstanding. We're the only community in Minnehaha County other than Sioux Falls that has their own police department. We're independent. We work closely with both the City of Sioux Falls PD and the Sheriff's Office, obviously. Mm-hmm. Jamie, we were very fortunate to have Jamie come back from Florida. He took the trip down there, but he came back, thankfully. He's really worked very hard to recruit folks, that fit our public safety model. We have an awesome staff in the PD, very good at what they do. And Jamie and his command staff, Austin Peterson, have worked really hard to, make sure that our guys I shouldn't say guys anymore. We do have a lady on our staff now. Mm-hmm. Our staff receives the proper training because public safety is certainly an evolving profession these days. Police officers are asked to do a heck of a lot more than just write traffic tickets and investigate crime these days. Mm-hmm. They're kind of the front line for mental health issues in the community, medical issues in the community. If there's a 911 call for the ambulance service, our PD's right there, probably the first on the scene. So the training that Jamie's offered our folks, opportunities to move up in the department, looking for the right kind of folks to fit our public safety model.
Mm-hmm. You talked about that model and the idea that we have our own police department and it is local. I mean, it's the only one other than Sioux Falls. What value does that add to a community like Brandon to have local officers, many of them that live in Brandon, many of them that are here every day? What does that bring to a community like Brandon? Because it's not cheap.
No,
I mean that's I don't want to call it a luxury, but that's something that not every community is able to afford.
Correct.
What is the value that it brings?
Well, we've got 24 hours, 7 days a week protection, number one. So we always have at least 2, usually 3 officers on shift at any given time. So that provides our community with a little more protection than some. It's local control. So, we're not subject to the whims of another agency. I shouldn't say whims, but policy procedures of another agency. It certainly gives our folks, our citizens, a sense of security. We've been named safest city in South Dakota for the last 8 to 10 years. I think we've had awesome chiefs over that time period that have just done a very good job of making sure that our community is protected.
Great. This has been good, Bryan. I appreciate you sharing that because I think sometimes people take for granted what we have in Brandon. I know you don't realize all that goes into removing the snow. I mean, that's been a big project this summer. I was talking with one of your staff. They were sitting by my street, just kind of finishing up after one of our snow events.
It's been an unusual year.
You've definitely shined up all the plows.
The plows are getting good use this year. There's no doubt about that.
But I just had a great conversation, and he told me, the gentleman that I was talking with, how much he appreciates working for the city and great job, and just real grateful for the opportunity. What would you say to people that are listening? Many people are going to tune into this, are maybe don't know you personally. They maybe only know of you in the role that you play. I get the privilege to see you, once in a while around town or pumping iron somewhere.
Yep.
El Tapatio, places like that. So, what would you say to somebody that's new to Brandon about what are the needs, or how can somebody get involved in city government? How can somebody get involved in the community? in a positive way if they're new to town or maybe they've been here for a while and just haven't had an opportunity to get involved? What would you say to somebody that's looking to get connected or involved?
Well, as far as getting involved with the city, our city council meetings are open. They're also on YouTube. Find out what's going on. The best thing to do is read the minutes in the paper, watch the city council meetings, come to the city council meeting. We have an opportunity for citizens at every one of those meetings to ask questions or make comments about issues or areas that they have concern. Planning and zoning is open to the public as well. Park committee is open to the public. All of those have opportunities for folks to make comments or questions. If anybody has a question, the easiest thing to do is call City Hall. We usually, if we don't know the answer, we'll certainly get in contact with the folks that do. I don't know exactly where the plow trucks are at every day. But if somebody's got a question, hey, when they're going to plow my street, that's one we've had lately with the snow. We can certainly let you know. But no, get involved, be active, find out what's going on. Like I said, read the paper. They do an awesome job of covering city stuff, whether it's on the front page. Come to the council meetings, come to P&Z meetings.
Yeah.
Not just when it affects you, but keep up to speed on what's going on. Because we do have a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. As far as volunteer stuff, we've got a meeting tonight at 7:00 at City Hall. Hopefully start planning our 50th anniversary celebration for the city. We incorporated in 1973, so we're really one of the younger cities in the state. So we're only hitting 50, but I'm not going to be around for the 100th.
Well, see, I think, I don't know, Bryan. I like how you take care of yourself, man. You do us offensive linemen proud, so you might be. We
might be. It's another 50 years from now. Modern medicine will do wonders.
Cool. Well, hey, I appreciate, Bryan, you taking the time and coming in here and just sharing. And I want you to know I honor you in your role, and very thankful that you serve. And you really, I know you don't want it, but you need it. You need encouragement, and you do a great job.
Well, thanks. It's that offensive lineman mentality. We're the ones in the trenches. We don't want or look for the glory. We just get the job done.
Yeah. Well, doing a great job. Appreciate all you do. So thanks, Bryan.
Thanks, John. You too. You guys, you're very involved with the wellness center concept. Yep. We're waiting to see how that transfer or works itself out. Very exciting that you guys have undertaken that role.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to encourage you. Thank you for bringing that up. City is a huge partner in that. It wouldn't be possible without the city being open to that, and obviously the citizens and especially the park board and those people that are leading that. But yeah, I wish I could share today, but in the next month, stay tuned to the Links podcast. This is going to be your best place to get information, along with our website. brandwellness.com. And I'm very, very excited about what's going to happen in 2023. Lots of things are moving behind the scenes.
Yep.
So
good.
There's even in the last couple of days, we've just really gotten clarity of where we're headed and what we need to do. And it's going to require everybody. It's going to be a team effort. And I think it's a great year, Brandon's 50th year, to really start turning some dirt on a wellness center to serve our community it's not government funded. It's not it's not a tax. We're not leaning on government. We're going to lean on the community and lean on the people in our community, specifically the households that call this home, because we really believe that's the thing that our community needs.
Yep.
We need a place. We've got a great school system. We've got a great infrastructure that's building. We have some great small businesses, lots of hope for the future. However, we just have heard and we believe that having a community wellness center is an enormous step for our community over the next 50 years.
Yep, it's been talked about for a long, long time, and your group is finally kind of taking the bull by the horns and moving forward with it.
Yeah. And it's community. I mean, this is it's what it's about. It's about having a place, just like this podcast is a place for us to get to know one another. This isn't just you and I. You and I can go have coffee whenever, but This is a place, this virtual space, this podcast is a place for one another, for us to get to know one another.
Sure.
And a wellness center is a physical place. It's a physical place where we can rub shoulders. I mean, I'm sure you, like me, when you go to Sunshine, you end up saying hi to 4, 5, 6 people.
Yep.
When you go to a restaurant or you go somewhere in town, we just need more of those spaces. If we're going to really build community over the next 50 years, it requires more than asphalt.
Oh yeah. Brandon's in a unique situation. We've grown by leaps and bounds over the last 20 years. The vast majority of our folks work, shop, play in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Everybody identifies Brandon as Brandon Valley School.
Yeah.
The city of Brandon is kind of an afterthought, so to speak. So we really need some place or something to get the folks energized about the community, not identifying with Sioux Falls. Not that we don't like, we love Sioux Falls. They're a great neighbor, like I said. But most people identify, work there, play there, spend their tax dollars there, et cetera. And we need to bring that back to Brandon a little bit.
Yeah, we're extremely blessed. We're extremely blessed, and our hope through Brandon Wellness and through the city working together along with other organizations, a number of other organizations, including soccer, tennis. Our goal really is to be a blessing to others and to build something, not just for today, but build something for tomorrow and looking ahead long term. So I think, it's exciting, and I'm excited. I can't wait to I'm a talker, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Hadn't noticed that, John.
I wish I could say more.
We will wait patiently.
Okay.
For whatever news you're going to relay in the next month or two.
Well, tell you what, appreciate you listening, tuning in. Like and share this conversation. I think it's a great conversation. Share it on your social media. Pass it along on podcasts. We're available on all those channels. So
sounds good.
Awesome.
Thanks, John.
You bet. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you for joining us on the Love Your Neighbor podcast. The purpose of the Love Your Neighbor podcast is to build community one conversation at a time. You can help us build that community by sharing the podcast on your social media channels and rating our podcast on whatever platform you're listening from. Another way is to let us know of any neighbors who have a story. Go Lynx!